There are souls walking among us who were never meant to live an ordinary life. You feel it, don't you? A deep, unshakable knowing that you were born for something more, something darker, something deeper. Not in the sense of evil, but in the sense of power. Raw, ancient, and often misunderstood. If you're listening to this, it's probably because you're one of them. One of the dark, chosen ones. You didn't choose this path, it chose you. And for most of your life, it's felt like a war no one else can see. A war in the shadows. Inside your own mind. Inside your own soul. You've been battling demons that don't have names. You felt darkness crawl over your skin in moments of silence. You've heard the voice that tells you you're not enough, that you're too broken, that maybe you're cursed. But here's the truth. You are not cursed. You are called. Called into the depths that others fear. Called into the realm where light is not always kind and darkness is not always evil. And in that calling you've been given something most people never receive: a soul forged in fire, a mind sharpened by pain, and a heart that refuses to quit. But let me make this clear. Power alone isn't enough. Awareness alone won't save you. You must learn to command the energies that move through you. You must learn to silence the demons not by banishing them, but by mastering them. That's what this journey is about. Not escaping the dark, but owning it, transmuting it, reclaiming it. And I'm going to show you exactly how. 3 simple techniques. Not easy, but simple. And when you understand how to use them, everything changes. You shift from hunted to hunter, from victim to vessel, from overwhelmed to unstoppable. But before we get to the techniques, we need to talk about what you really are. Being a dark chosen one means you were born with access to the hidden layers of reality. You don't just see the world, you feel it. You don't just hear people's words, you hear their wounds. You don't just experience life, you absorb it. That's why you're higher, your lows are lower, and your silence is never actually silent. You've probably been told you're too sensitive, too intense, too emotional. But what if those things are actually evidence of your power? What if your sensitivity is your radar? What if your emotions are gateways to unseen forces? What if your intensity is the very key to your mastery? Let me ask you something you've probably never been asked. What if the demon you're trying to kill is actually a part of you that you haven't learned to understand yet? What if it's not here to destroy you but to awaken you? Because here's the secret: demons don't feed on your darkness. They feed on your resistance to it. They grow stronger every time you suppress, deny, or run from what you feel. But when you stop running, when you turn around and face them with clarity and command, they lose their grip. That's the first step. Awareness is not enough. You have to stop being afraid of your own shadow. You have to stop seeing yourself as broken. You're not broken. You're unfinished. The first technique to silence every demon is something I call stillness under pressure. It's the art of holding your center when chaos erupts. It's about learning to sit with discomfort so deeply that it breaks open instead of breaking you down. Most people react. Most people panic. Most people fight or flee. But we don't. Not as chosen ones. We feel. We breathe. We watch. We let the storm pass through us without becoming it. Imagine this. You're in a moment of spiritual attack, an emotional spiral, a wave of fear or shame or rage, and instead of trying to escape it, you go still. You drop into your breath. You anchor into your body. You say to yourself, "This is not me. This is energy moving through me." And you feel it, fully. You don't push it down. You don't attach to it. You observe it. That's how it loses power. That's how it dissolves. Not through force, but through presence. Demons thrive in unconscious reaction. Stillness burns them alive. The second technique is called naming the unseen. This one is powerful, because demons, both literal and metaphorical, survive by being invisible. They hide in the background of your thoughts, in the corners of your trauma, in the patterns you inherited but never questioned. But when you name them, you cast light on the shadow. You expose the card. You say out loud, "I see you. This might look like journaling your darkest thoughts without censorship. It might be speaking your truth to someone who's been gaslighting you for years. It might be sitting with a memory you've buried for decades and saying, "This happened, this hurt, but it no longer defines me." You name it, and when you do, you take back your energy. You reclaim your sovereignty. You break the spell. I need you to understand something. This path is not about being fearless. It's about walking with fear and refusing to bow to it. It's about becoming the kind of being who can walk into the underworld and return with your crown. The world doesn't need more light workers who are afraid of the dark. The world needs shadow masters, people who can go where others won't, feel what others can't, and return with power that changes everything. That's you. That's what you're becoming. But only if you're willing to stop hiding from yourself. And that brings us to the last truth of this part. You are not alone in this. You felt alone because your path is rare. But rare doesn't mean wrong. It means sacred. And the fact that you're still here after everything you've faced is proof that the darkness has never won. It tried, but it didn't. You're still breathing. You're still listening. You're still rising. And now it's time to take the next step. In the next part, I'll show you the third and final technique, one that will shift the balance of power forever. But before that, ask yourself this: what part of me have I been calling a demon that's actually a doorway?
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
There comes a point on this hidden path where you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this trying to awaken in me?" That shift is everything. It's the moment you stop being hunted by your darkness and begin hunting for the truth inside it. This is the path of the demon whisperer, not someone who fights demons with brute force, but someone who learns to listen to them, decode them, and transform them. This is the third and final technique, the one most fear, the one that separates the dabblers from the initiates, the one that turns every spiritual attack, every emotional collapse, every breakdown of identity into an initiation into higher power. Let me tell you something you've probably never heard before. Demons are not always trying to destroy you. Sometimes they're trying to deliver you, not into suffering but into sovereignty. The darkness that knocks on your door is often the messenger of a part of you that's been exiled, suppressed, or forgotten. It comes cloaked in fear, pain, confusion, but beneath that mask is a frequency that belongs to you. A frequency you lost touch with, but need in order to become whole. And until you reclaim it, it will haunt you. That's why so many people stay stuck in cycles. They're trying to kill what they're meant to integrate. So how do we whisper to the demon? How do we transform attack into ascension? The answer is paradoxical, but powerful. You invite it in. With full presence, full awareness, and zero victimhood. You sit with the energy. You breathe into it. You ask it questions. What are you trying to show me? What am I afraid to feel? What am I still rejecting in myself? This is not a mental game. It's not about overanalyzing or spiritual bypassing. It's about feeling with surgical precision. It's about being willing to let the energy speak in its own language through symbols, sensations, memories, or inner voices. And then instead of pushing it away, you listen. Not to obey it, but to understand it. Because understanding is the first step to liberation. This technique requires courage. It requires you to stop seeing yourself as a victim of the unseen and start seeing yourself as an alchemist of the unseen. You are not powerless. You are not cursed. You are not broken. You are becoming. And every time you transmute a piece of shadow into wisdom, you become more magnetic, more grounded, more dangerous to the forces that feed on unconsciousness. That's what they fear. Not your light, but your clarity. Because clarity is untouchable. It doesn't flinch. It doesn't run. It simply is. So the next time you feel a wave of darkness rising, whether it's anxiety, hopelessness, shame, rage, or that ancient sense of dread you can't explain, don't shut it down. Don't numb it. Don't run. Sit. Breathe. Ask, and receive. Receive the lesson, the insight, the frequency. And once you've received it, thank it. Yes, you heard me. Thank the demon, because it brought you back to a part of yourself you had forgotten how to love. And then you let it go, not with fear, but with gratitude. That's how you silence it. Not by fighting it, but by completing the message it came to deliver. And here's where the real game shifts. Once you master this, once you truly become a demon whisperer, you don't just survive the spiritual attacks. You ascend through them. You evolve faster. Your aura becomes denser, more impenetrable. Your intuition sharpens. Your nervous system strengthens. Your presence becomes medicine. People will start to feel it. They'll say things like, "You feel different. There's something about you." They won't have the words, but what they're sensing is your integration, your wholeness. You're no longer fractured. You've become one with your light, with your dark, with your purpose. Let me ask you something that only the brave can answer. What would your life look like if you embraced every breakdown as a coded breakthrough? What kind of power would be unlocked if you stopped fearing your shadow and started partnering with it? What kind of being would you become if you trusted that nothing, absolutely nothing, can touch the soul that is fully aware? This is the final technique, the one most never reach, but you have. And now there's only one thing left to do. Live it, integrate it, walk with it. And remember, every demon you've ever faced was just a distorted reflection of a deeper truth inside you, waiting to be reclaimed. There's something terrifying about someone who has made peace with their darkness, not to the awakened but to the world that still lives in illusion. You've probably noticed it, the way people react to your presence without even knowing why. Some are drawn to you instantly, magnetized by a depth they can't explain. Others pull away, confused or even threatened by a frequency they've never felt before. But you're not doing anything external. You're simply being. You've stepped into your truth. You've stopped leaking energy, trying to conform, trying to explain, trying to be palatable. And that alone makes you dangerous to systems, to illusions, to anything built on falsehood. Because when someone becomes unshakable, they make everyone around them question what they're still afraid of. Walking as a dark chosen one means you no longer live in reaction. You live in response. You no longer chase validation or belong to the crowd. You belong to the truth, and the truth is rarely popular, but it's always powerful. The more you integrate your shadow, the less interest you have in superficial conversations, shallow relationships, or performative healing. You start craving substance. You start seeking essence. You want to be around people who see through the veil. You want to speak in codes. You want to build temples from silence and transmit revelations with a single glance. And suddenly, everything that once felt like a cage begins to dissolve. But here's what most people won't tell you. This level of power comes with a cost. Not because you're punished, but because you're purified. The more you rise, the more life will test your foundation. You will lose things. You will be misunderstood. You will be projected on, envied, even attacked, not because you're doing anything wrong, but because your very existence shines a light on what others are still hiding from. And in those moments, you must remember, this isn't personal. This is alchemical. You are not being destroyed, you're being refined. And every hit you take, every misunderstanding, every betrayal becomes fuel for your fire. You don't fight back. You transmute. That's what makes you invincible. This is what it means to rise as the unshakable. You no longer need the world to accept you. You accept yourself, fully, fiercely, unapologetically. You've sat with your demons. You've extracted their wisdom. You've woven shadow into strength. And now you walk with a presence that commands reality. You don't need to raise your voice. Your silence speaks. You don't need to prove your worth. Your being is proof. You become the eye of the storm, calm, centered, and devastatingly clear. But don't mistake this clarity for coldness. The dark chosen ones don't walk in arrogance. They walk in reverence. You know the cost of this path. You've felt the nights of despair. You've screamed into the void. You've begged the universe for answers. And now that you've emerged, you hold your power with humility. Because you know it's not just for you. It never was. Your power is medicine for your lineage, for your community, for the timelines that are still healing through you. Every step you take in sovereignty sends ripples through collective consciousness. You're not just healing yourself. You're healing us all. Let me ask you something few dare to ask. What if your pain was never a punishment, but a preparation? What if everything you've endured, every wound, every rejection, every collapse was life sharpening you like a blade, not to harm, but to cut through illusion? What if your suffering wasn't a setback, but a sacred forge? And now that you've emerged from it, the question becomes, what will you do with this power? Because now, you are the presence that shifts rooms. You are the mirror that shows people what they're afraid to see. You are the storm and the sanctuary. And the world needs you exactly as you are. No more hiding. No more shrinking. No more pretending to be smaller than your light or your dark. You are not here to be liked. You are here to be legendary. You walk differently now. Not because you've ascended above the world, but because you've descended so deeply into yourself that the world can no longer define you. You've become sovereign. And that sovereignty is sacred. It's rare. It's unstoppable. So walk boldly. Speak truthfully. Love fiercely. Hold your frequency like a weapon and a prayer. Because you are not just a survivor of the dark. You are not just a student of it. You are its master. And masters don't explain, they embody. There is a point in every spiritual warrior's journey where the war doesn't end but the attacks stop working. Not because the darkness disappears, but because you are no longer vulnerable to it in the same way. You've sealed the cracks, you've closed the open doors, you've anchored yourself so deeply in your truth that no force internal or external can pull you off your center. That's what we call the final seal. It's not a ritual. It's not a chant. It's a state of being. And once you step into it, everything changes. Not only do you stop fearing spiritual attack, you become unreachable to it. Because your frequency no longer matches the vibration of manipulation, fear, self-doubt, or energetic invasion. You've risen out of the range of interference. But let's be clear, anchoring your power doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you stop leaking. You stop giving pieces of yourself away to people who can't hold them. You stop explaining your energy to people who aren't ready to understand it. You stop negotiating your truth for comfort or approval. It means you own every part of yourself, the light, the shadow, the mystery, the fire. And that ownership builds an energetic fortress around you. Not a wall that keeps love out, but a shield that keeps distortion from entering. Let me give you the deepest truth I know. Spiritual attacks only land where there is unresolved vulnerability. They only hook into unhealed trauma, unconscious fear, or forgotten agreements. So the final seal is not about becoming hard or distant, it's about becoming whole. When you've done the work to integrate your shadow, when you've stopped running from your emotions, when you've reclaimed your forgotten fragments, there's nothing left for the darkness to cling to. You're no longer a match for manipulation. You're no longer a target for confusion. You've become clear, and clarity is protection. It is armor made of light and truth. This is why the final seal always begins with radical self-honesty. You must know yourself so deeply that no one else's projection can define you. You must be willing to face your flaws without shame and your greatness without apology. That level of self-awareness creates a frequency that repels anything not in alignment. You're not relying on affirmations or defense mechanisms. You're radiating from the inside out. And anything that tries to enter your field must pass through the fire of your awareness, and most can't survive it. Next, you must command your space. Every single day. This is not optional. You are an energetic being in an energetic world. If you don't claim your space, something else will. So when you wake up, speak to your field. Say it out loud if you must. I reclaim all of my energy. I clear all uninvited frequencies. I seal my space in truth and sovereignty. Speak it. Mean it. Believe it. Because the moment you start commanding your field, you stop being a victim of unseen forces. You become the source. And most importantly, you must live in alignment. This is the ultimate seal. When your thoughts, words, actions, and energy all reflect the same truth, you create a resonance that is unbreakable. You become a walking transmission of integrity. And integrity is untouchable. No spell, no entity, no toxic person can penetrate a being who is fully aligned. They may try, but they will bounce off your field like dust hitting a mountain. So I ask you now, with everything you've become, are you willing to walk as the version of yourself that nothing can shake? Not someday, not when it's convenient. Now. Right now, because the world doesn't need more protected people. It needs more anchored ones. People so deep in their truth that chaos becomes irrelevant. People so whole that spiritual wisdom. You've walked through the dark. You've learned the techniques. You've silenced the demons, whispered to the shadows, risen in your sovereignty. Now it's time to seal it for good, not as a defense, but as a declaration, a statement to the universe. I am who I say I am. I am whole. I am light and shadow in harmony. I am untouchable, not because I hide, but because I stand fully revealed. You are the final seal. Let the world feel that. Let the darkness know it can't touch you anymore. Let this be the moment you never look back. You are free. You are fire. You are the dark chosen one, and you are home.